Hey all, here are OS Reviews. About 2 years ago, we checked out a pair of TWS wireless buds from Sudio called the 12s, and I really like them because of the super clean design that's characteristic from this Swedish company. Now we're taking a look at their latest pair that continues with the clean design, but now adds active noise cancellation, a companion app support that has custom EQ based on a hearing test, very similar to some of the Soundcore Anchor buds that we've seen lately, as well as also claims to offer support for spatial audio. It does come in a few different colors. This one here is the electric gray, but all of them I do think look quite attractive and clean, like I said, with the shiny accents that they've picked that acts as the capacitive key for playing and pausing. And these buds do also support Qi wireless charging as well, so it can be charged using any standard mat to quickly top it off without even plugging things in. And then kind of a demo of what that spatial audio is supposed to do is just make the sound feel more open. Beamforming microphones that also claims to improve the audio quality when you're making calls. All great to see. And in terms of the battery life and performance, they are rated to be 30 hours with the case on regular listening mode. And when you have ANC turned on, that's going to be about 20 hours. And then these are IPX4 rated, so you can use them in the rain if you get them wet, and they should still survive. And so at the moment, they are running actually a offer as well, where you can pick up one of these. They will also throw in a free Qi wireless charging mat, shaping life through immersive sound. And then just as reference, this is what their wireless Qi charging mat looks like. It's offering 9 watts of power, which is again purposefully a little bit lower to charge these smaller buds, but it will also work with smartphones, but obviously not going to get you the fastest charging speed. This is what their Qi charging mat looks like. It's in this pure white color and has some soft touch rubber feet actually on the entire rear. It's coated in a layer of this grippy plastic that prevents it from sliding around, but interestingly the surface is a coarse plastic, which is fine considering that the E2s themselves are coated in rubber. They're not going to slide around. However, I do still feel like maybe they could have coated this in another layer of rubber, since a lot of devices like phones, if you're trying to put it on top of, can be a little bit slippery, but it is what it is. Very clean design. The buds, by the way, are also presented really well, which is expected for a premium kind of flagship pair of buds from them. It just says, shape life through immersive sound. Another standard Type-C charging cable, and then also the spare silicone tips, which are accented in the same color as the variant that you pick. So these are in this very pale, translucent jade color. So taking a closer look at the design of the E2s, like I said, they are very clean looking, and they will instantly turn on once you open up the case to pair with your device, so a very quick process. Just one LED on the front there to tell you the battery status. Type-C if you don't want to use the wireless charging mat. Very responsive in my testing so far to the simplest of touches when you are playing and pausing and controlling things, which by the way can do everything you would possibly want, including triple tapping to raise the volume higher or lower, single tap to play, pause, to skip tracks, tap twice, and you can even control the kind of spatial audio mode as well just by holding for 2 seconds on the left side. And then on the right side, that's where you can press 2 seconds to go through the ANC effects. And they feel comfortable for the full 6 hours of continuous music listening without really any stress in my testing. The soft touch rubber here also makes them pretty grippy, so they are resistant to falling out even if you're jumping around and doing a bit of movement. Very nice flat edges on the bottom there for the charging contacts, and we also have the Sudio brand proudly edged again on the back. Overall, I do really like the way that they look. Once again, just really clean and super elegant. Before we talk about the audio quality and performance, let's take a closer look at the companion app. From here, we are able to take a look at turning on ANC, although the intensity of the active noise cancellation, you can't really further granular control, but you can flick it on or off, as well as access the audio transparency mode, which will use the microphones to amplify the sound so you can have a conversation without removing them. Turn on the spatial audio mode here, as well as custom listening profiles. So there's a few kind of presets on here, including a balance sound, bass boosted, vocal, podcast, pop, and luckily these all do make a difference. You can even create your own custom profile that allows you to further adjust the way that the mids and trebles sound to your preferences, as well as create a personalized sound profile. So the process of this is very similar to the aforementioned Anchor Soundcore buds. So it tells us to kind of stay in a quiet environment wear them properly, and it will basically start to play back a series of noises. Then it will ask you, are you able to hear that sound? And once you hear it, tap on confirm, so it knows maybe areas where you're less sensitive to, and as a result, the algorithm will try to boost other areas of the sound that you are able to hear more aggressively to compensate. And thankfully, this is a process where, just like before, I have found it to be very effective, and it does make a very noticeable difference. In fact, I do personally prefer leaving this mode on. For lack of a better word, it just really makes the sound feel more alive. But these are, I would say, missing one feature, and that would be a dedicated low latency gaming mode. However, overall connectivity has already been very good thanks to the use of Bluetooth 5.2. And these are, again, using standard SBC and AAC audio codecs. So aptX is one other thing that would be nice to have, but as a whole, it already is great in terms of the connectivity process in my testing. Let's talk about the actual sound quality next, and as a whole, I have to say these are very pleasant and just super comfortable to listen to, particularly, like I said, after you use it with the custom hearing test mode activated, and the personalized sound just has plenty of detail. In my particular case, I was able to really enjoy the mids as well as bass, but at the same time doesn't overpower the mids and trebles. Trebles in particularly with vocals, I was still able to hear a lot of nuances and details, and I have to say the sound is just very comfortable. Now, with that being said, one thing to nitpick about would be they aren't necessarily free from distortion. I say that because particularly in the ANC mode, you'll hear a little bit of a background whisper that sometimes kind of creeps in a little bit, but as you start listening to the music, that gets easily drowned out and you don't really notice that it's there. But it is one thing to keep in mind. And then talking about the ANC, I would say are doing the job of getting about 85% effective. Things like the engine from a car, lower end frequencies from a fan, those do get easily drowned out, and you're able to listen in a lot more peace and quiet, which is great. But voices and sometimes louder sounds can still occasionally creep in. The same thing goes with the audio transparency mode. It's been tuned to work quite well, so you can definitely notice once you flick it on, you can hear people around you a lot more easily, and it sounds pretty natural, I have to say. So last but not least, let's talk about that, again, audio spatial mode. This is more similar to something like Dolby Atmos, where it applies essentially just a filter on top of your sound. Especially when watching movies and soundtracks, I think it does add to the immersion by quite a bit. However, in terms of if you're trying to get the most realistic listening experience and you are an audiophile, I do sometimes prefer turning it off if I'm listening to a high-res audio track. It's still fun to play around with, and it's appreciated that they're trying to experiment for sure. With that being said, just keep in mind that it's not quite as sophisticated as, again, what the AirPod Pros have with their head tracking. On these, even if you turn your head, the sound won't necessarily change. Benefits here being that you don't have to listen to a specific soundtrack, unlike with Apple's spatial audio, so it works across anything that you listen to, though depending on the genre, if it's something a little bit more bass heavy, something with a more cinematic feel like a soundtrack, I have found it to work a bit better compared to more vocal type tracks. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the all-new Sudio E2s, and I have to say I am impressed. Now it's no longer all about the design, but they're also matching it with improved audio quality in terms of detail. The custom EQ modes and sound tuning through the software is definitely making a difference, and it's something I can easily recommend when it comes to almost any genre of music. If you are a fan of the way they look, I would say the sound certainly doesn't disappoint, which is great. You can check out more details if you're interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.